On the back of my last video, my rascal of a daughter unexpectedly set an interesting challenge for me. She asked me what my 5 favourite paints to use were, and then asked if I could paint a model start to finish. And to answer my buddy Chris's profound question, when are you going to paint a goblin? This is it. Many moons ago, I studied photography in college. There was an exercise the art students that cohabited the studio despised to perform. It even became a curse word amongst the group. This is a colour chart. Bizarrely, this is the perfect time to use this tedious drill. I will be testing the paints to see how they react together before putting them on the model. This is colour chart discipline, using each of the paints and mixing them together to figure out what tones are achievable with this limited range. It's beneficial to find out on a sheet of white paper than on the miniature. What most of us don't realise is generally paints are built up from a combination of colours to achieve different tones, especially when the colour has an outlandishly over-the-top title. The truth is, your favourite paint won't consist of one pigment, but several. The goal of this colour chart is to determine what are the hidden potentials of each of these paints. After discovering my chosen paints are relatively dull, it's time to get creative. As this is going to be an experimental paint project, none of my choices are definitive, and I am likely to pivot at any moment if I find the tones don't prove to be interesting. Mixing black, red and dark sea green gives a very muted purple tone. This is a good starting point for the cloak, given a few coats for a smooth coverage. With mixing colours in this fashion, the saturation is greatly impacted. Instead of trying to fix this, I will lean into it and use it as an effect. For the green, I mixed dark sea green, Japanese uniform World War II and ice yellow. It was difficult to get any vibrancy out of this collection of colours, but I do like this deathly pale green skin. It will work amazing on zombies or any sun-bleached green clothing. When I picked this model, I bizarrely had in my mind that there was more skin on show. This may be a fortunate twist since the mixed green that I have isn't that punchy, but it does mean I'll be attempting to conquer non-metallic metal. Starting off with a dark sea green, leaving behind some of the black undercoat. For now, I just want to lay down the foundational colour map on the model to better aid my decisions. Quickly bouncing around the model to fill in other details. One of the colours that should be easy to mix is brown, but if you have ever tried to mix this style of paint, you will know they mostly end up grey. Luckily, black, red and Japanese uniform World War II give a warm brownish orange tone. Onto the non-metallic metal. For the second jump in contrast, I use a mix of dark sea green and deck tan, covering a small section of the armour. Using a scratchy brush stroke, hopefully this will read as old metal, dented and bruised. I find being brisk and loose with the scratches gives a better effect. It lets the model dictate the direction of the paint. After doing this to each panel, I quickly edge highlight to frame off every section. Adding in more deck tan to the mix, I aim the scratches at the brightest parts of the armour, sitting inside the previous build-up, leaving as much as possible of the initial steps untouched, using pure deck tan for edge highlights and a tiny light spot. After forging the scratches, I use a glaze of the darkest mix, pulling across the paint strokes towards the shaded areas. Then using the brightest mix, reverse the direction. Doing these glazing steps will help tie in and blend the layers of the mixture. At this stage of the project's progress, it's easy to see that the cloak has no visual interest. I decide to glaze in some highlights using black red and gradually add in ice yellow. For the shades of the folds, I use a dark sea green with the slightest drop of black red. Originally, I didn't want to paint the cloak red, as I've not long done a Skaven in a similar scheme. But with this limited collection of paints, it's changed the path that the project is on. And that's this wee guy done. It was a fun challenge. The biggest part of the challenge is my dull choice in colour. I would like to do this model again at some point, finish off blacking the rim, but even pushing back that non-metallic metal into the darkest of the contrast. I challenge you guys, pick your 5 favourite colours and see what you can come up with. It's not as easy as it looks, or however how you think. But that goblin, that's for you, Chris. Thank you to my daughter for setting such a unique challenge. See you in the next video.